Prehistoric Indonesia is a prehistoric period in the Indonesian archipelago that spanned from the Pleistocene period to about the 4th century CE, when the Kutai people produced the earliest known stone inscriptions in Indonesia. Unlike the clear distinction between prehistoric and historical periods in Europe and the Middle East, the division is muddled in Indonesia. This is mostly because Indonesia's geographical conditions as a vast archipelago caused some parts, especially the interiors of distant islands, to be virtually isolated from the rest of the world. West Java and coastal Eastern Borneo, for example, began the historical periods in the early 4th century, but megalithic culture still flourished and script was unknown in the rest of Indonesia, including in Nias, Batak, and Toraja. The Papuans on the Indonesian part of New Guinea Island lived virtually in the Stone Age until the first contacts with modern world in early 20th century. Even today, living megalithic traditions still can be found on the island of Sumber and Nias. Geologically, the area of modern Indonesia appeared from under the Southeast Asian seas as the result of the Indian and Australian plates colliding and slipping under the Sunda Plate. Sometime in the early Cenozoic era, around 63 million years ago, this tectonic collision created Sunda volcanic arc that has produced chains of islands of Sumatra, Java and the Lesser Sunda Islands. The active volcanic arc creating supervolcano that today become Lake Toba in Sumatra. The massive eruption of Toba supervolcano that occurred sometime between 69,000 and 77,000 years ago instigated the Toba catastrophe theory, a global volcanic winter that caused a bottleneck in human evolution. Other notable volcanoes in Sunda are Mount Tambora and Krakatau. The region is known for its instability due to volcano formations and other volcanic and tectonic activities, as well as climate changes resulted in lowlands drowned occasionally under shallow seas, the formation of islands, the connection and disconnection of islands through narrow land bridges, etc. The Indonesian archipelago nearly reached its present form in the Pleistocene period. For some periods, the Sundaland was still linked with Asian mainland, creating the land mass extension of Southeast Asia that enabled the migrations of some Asian animals and hominid species. Geologically, the New Guinea Island and the shallow seas of Arafura is the northern part of Australia tectonic plate and once connected as a land bridge identified as Sahaland. During the end of the last ice age, Earth experienced global climate change. A global warming with the rising of average temperature caused the melting of polar ice caps and contributed to the rising of sea surface. Sundaland was submerged under shallow sea, creating Malacca Strait, South China Sea, Karamata Strait and Java Sea. During that period, Malay Peninsula, Sumatra, Java, Borneo and the islands around them were formed. On the east, New Guinea and Aru Islands were separated from the Australia mainland. The rise of sea surface created isolated areas that separated plants, animals and hominid species, causing further evolution and specification. Human migration. In 2007, analysis of cut marks on two bovid bones found in Sangiran showed them to have been made 1.5 to 1.6 million years ago by clamshell tools, and is the oldest evidence for the presence of early man in Indonesia. Fossilized remains of Homo erectus, popularly known as the Java man, were first discovered by the Dutch anatomist Eugene Dubois at Trinil in 1891, and are at least 700,000 years old, at the time the oldest human ancestor ever found. Further Homo erectus fossils of a similar age were found at Sangiran in the 1930s by the anthropologist geologist Gustav Heinrich Ralph von Koenigswald, who in the same time period also uncovered fossils at Nandong alongside more advanced tools, redated in 2011 to between 550,000 and 143,000 years old. In 1977 another Homo erectus skull was discovered at Sambung Makan. In 2003, on the island of Flores, fossils of a new small hominid dated between 74,000 and 13,000 years old and named Flores Man were discovered, much to the surprise of the scientific community. This 3-foot-tall hominid is thought to be a species descended from Homo erectus and reduced in size over thousands of years by a well-known process called island dwarfism. Flores Man seems to have shared the island with modern Homo sapiens until only 12,000 years ago, when they became extinct. In 2010, stone tools were discovered on Flores dating from 1 million years ago, which is the oldest evidence anywhere in the world that early man had the technology to make sea crossings at this very early time. The archipelago was formed during the thaw after the latest ice age. Early humans traveled by sea and spread from mainland Asia eastward to New Guinea and Australia. Homo sapiens reached the region by around 45,000 years ago. In 2011, evidence was uncovered in neighboring East Timor, showing that 42,000 years ago these early settlers had high-level maritime skills, and by implication the technology needed to make ocean crossings to reach Australia and other islands, as they were catching and consuming large numbers of big deep-sea fish such as tuna. Around 2000 BCE there was an expansion of seafaring Austronesian people from Asia, who spread throughout maritime Southeast Asia to Madagascar and Oceania. Austronesian people formed the majority of the modern population. Chronology. Paleolithic Homo erectus were known to utilize simple coarse Paleolithic stone tools and also shell tools, discovered in Sangiran and Nandong. Cut mark analysis of Pleistocene mammalian fossils documents 18 cut marks inflicted by tools of thick clamshell flakes on two bovid bones created during butchery at the Pakangan Formation in Sangiran between 1.6 and 1.5 million years ago. These cut marks document the use of the first tools in Sangiran and the oldest evidence of shell tool use in the world. Neolithic. The polished stone tools of Neolithic culture, such as polished stone axes and stone hoes, were developed by the Austronesian people in the Indonesian archipelago. Also during the Neolithic period, large stone structures of the megalithic culture flourished in archipelago. Megalithic. The Indonesian archipelago is the host of Austronesian megalith cultures both past and present. Several megalith sites and structures are also found across Indonesia. Menhirs, dolmens, stone tables, ancestral stone statues, and step pyramid structure called Pundan Berendak were discovered in various sites in Java, Sumatra, Sulawesi, and the Lesser Sunda Islands. Pundan Step Pyramid and menhir can be found in Paguangan Sislokan Gunung Padang, West Java. Ipare megalith site also in West Java displayed monolith, stone terraces, and sarcophagus. The Pundan Step Pyramid is believed to be the predecessor and basic design of later Hindu-Buddhist temples structure in Java after the adoption of Hinduism and Buddhism by the native population. The 8th century Borobudur and 15th century Candi Suku featured the step pyramid structure. Lor Lindu National Park in central Sulawesi houses ancient megalith relics such as ancestral stone statues, mostly located in the Bada, Basoa and Napuvalis. Living megalith cultures can be found on Nias, an isolated island off the western coast of North Sumatra. The Batak people in the interior of North Sumatra, on Sumber Island in eastern USA Tenggara, and also Toraja people from the interior of South Sulawesi. These megalith cultures remained preserved, isolated and undisturbed well into the late 19th century. Bronze Age. Dong Sun culture spread to Indonesia, bringing with it techniques of bronze casting, wet field rice cultivation, ritual buffalo sacrifice, megalithic practices, and ikat weaving methods. Some of these practices remain in areas including the Batak areas of Sumatra, Toraja in Sulawesi, and several islands in Nusa Tenggara. The artifacts from this period are bronze drums discovered throughout Indonesian Archipelago, and also ceremonial bronze axe. Belief system. Early Indonesians were animists who honored the spirits of nature as well as the ancestral spirits of the dead, as they believed the soul's life force could still help the living. The reverence for ancestral spirits is still widespread among Indonesian native ethnicities, such as among Nias people, Batak, Dayak, Toraja, and Papuans. These reverence, among others, are evident through the harvest festivals that often invoked the nature spirits and agriculture deities, to the elaborate burial rituals and processions of the deceased elders, to preparing and sending them to the realm of ancestors. The prehistoric spirit of ancestors and nature that possess supernatural abilities is identified as Hyang in Java and Bali, and still revered in Balinese Hinduism. Way of life. The human livelihood of prehistoric Indonesia ranges from simple forest hunter-gatherer equipped with stone tools to elaborated agriculture society, with grain cultivation, domesticated animals, with weaving and pottery industry, ideal agricultural conditions, and the mastering of wet field rice cultivation as early as the 8th century BCE, allowed villages, towns, and small kingdoms to flourish by the 1st century CE. These kingdoms evolved with their own ethnic and tribal religions. Java's hot and even temperature, abundant rain and volcanic soil was perfect for wet rice cultivation. Such agriculture required a well-organized society in contrast to dry field rice, which is a much simpler form of cultivation that doesn't require an elaborate social structure to support it. Booney culture or clay pottery was flourished in coastal northern West Java and Banten around 400 BCE to 100 CE. Booney culture was probably the predecessor of Tarumanagara Kingdom, one of the earliest Hindu kingdom in Indonesia that produces numerous inscriptions, marked the beginning of historical period in Java. List of sites. Prehistoric relics, such as bones of prehistoric animals and hominids, megalithic monoliths such as menhirs, dolmens, statues, burial sites, and paintings in caves. Cliff niches include the following: Putri Cave, Toraja, South Sumatra. Paesma Prehistoric Site, Lampung. Caves of Sanctli Ranghill, East Kutai Regency, East Kalimantan. Sabedug Prehistoric Site, Banten. Pangayangan Megalithic Sites, Sisolol, Sukabumi Regency, West Java. Siipare Megalithic Site, Kuningan, West Java. Parwan Caves, Bandung Regency, West Java. Gunung Padang Megalithic Site, Cianjur Regency, West Java. Gunung Padang Site, Cilacap Regency, Central Java. Sangaran Valley, Central Java. Wajak Prehistoric Sites, Tulungagung Regency, East Java. Mabolu Village Prehistoric Site, Ngepo Village, Tanggunganung Subdistrict, Tulungagung Regency, East Java. Gilimanuk Prehistoric Site, Jembrana Regency, Bali. Keramas Village Prehistoric Site, Labata Subdistrict, Gianyar Regency, Bali. Liang Liang Caves, Maros Regency, South Sulawesi. Megalithic statues of Lor Lindu National Park, Central Sulawesi. Liang Buat Flores, Eastern Nusa Tenggara. Baik Caves Prehistoric Sites, Baik, Papua. Beachside prehistoric painting site, Raja Ampat, West Papua. Tutari megalithic sites, Jayapura, Papua. Babi Caves, Mount Batu Buli, Randu Village, Muara Uwayat Tabalong, South Kalimantan.